Hello and welcome to another episode of the Alpha Movement podcast, where we'll be redefining what it means to be alpha through mastery of the physical body and revolutionising the mindset. Before we get started, I want to let you guys know that I have an entirely free 21-day program, which is 3 weeks of workouts designed to build the well-rounded athlete. Plus, it's also got 7 free online modules which talk about training, mindset and nutrition with a large emphasis on building confidence. In case you've forgotten, I've also got the webinar coming up called How to Hack Your Health in Limited Time, getting disgustingly fit, strong, healthy and confident with the minimum effort. I will stick a link to the register in the show notes, but you'll also be able to find out more through the social media and the website. Hello and welcome to episode number 6 of the Alpha Movement podcast. Today we have Shane Nugent from SJN Nutrition. Hello Shane.
Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, very good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, very well.
Good. Why don't you start off, mate, by just giving us a bit of a background about what you do, why you got into the industry, and anything interesting?
Yeah, cool, that's no problem at all. So, why I got in the industry was I was studying at the time I was doing a degree basically in sports and exercise science, like hundreds and hundreds of other people in the UK at the moment, or thousands, should we say. And I just thought, what do I want to do after this? So I just focused on the stuff that I was really interested in, which was nutrition. I got the chance to work with the British climbing team in nutrition, and then I sort of followed that path really, in that, specialising in that area. So I studied with the International Olympic Committee, graduated out in Switzerland with them a few years back, and I've recently just completed a master's degree. So that's the education side of things. And now I'm running my own business, and I help quite a few different populations. So yesterday I was in a primary school in Sheffield in the UK, and we managed to get 60 kids to improve their education in the area of nutrition and healthy practices and fitness and that sort of thing. Working with personal trainers, working with one-to-one clients myself, and just doing lots of bits and pieces with different populations really. So
cool. Yeah. We'll get back to the kind of like getting into schools and stuff, because I find that really interesting. But can we first start off with going through like the average guy's nutrition? Obviously, there's going to be a fair amount of guys listening to this show. So, what are the kind of biggest holes you see in an average guy's nutrition?
I think personally, it's just about planning. I know that's like a really boring answer, and it's not like a magic pill or anything like that, but the fact of the matter is, as soon as you start planning and getting stuff sorted well in advance, you can start avoiding any problems that are going to occur. Because everybody every week, every single one of my clients every week has an issue at some point. It might be like a christening or something that's come up, or somebody's birthday, or Christmas, or Easter's coming up, or there's always something in the way. So it's just about planning so that when we do get to them things, we've already got stuff in place. Now, a lot of people that I know, a lot of the gentlemen that I speak to, it's just not cool, is it, to be planning? It's not, they just want to wake up on the day and just sort of, grab a protein shake and just see how it goes. And it just doesn't work like that if you're wanting to get really great results and what have you. So yeah, definitely getting strategies in place and planning is a biggie for me, really.
Yeah, there's as you said, it's not a magic pill answer, but it is the right answer, unfortunately, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. You do get a lot of people that just think, well, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. I wonder what the magic step is. What is the thing that you do that I'm not doing? And it's not one thing; it's 10 things. So, the planning is definitely a huge component. That's one of the biggest things that's going to get you results straight away and start integrating stuff in and around your lifestyle. But, if you're not getting your fluid intakes, then that's you're going to be dehydrated all the time. That might have a massive effect, and even just maintaining that might have a huge effect. The right levels of protein and things, if you want to get lean and bulk up and things like that, then, that needs to be in check. And then your calorie balance, what you want to do, or you want to gain weight, you want to lose weight, and then obviously all the other commitments, you might work full time, you might work 50, 60 hours a week. So, having meals that take two hours to cook or something like that is just not going to be on the cards. It's not going to work for you. So there's loads of components. There's not really a magic pill answer, but it's just getting the whole picture in place and making sure it's tailored to you and what's happening in your life.
Yeah, so there are all those things put together. Are there any kind of hard and fast nutrition rules that kind of apply to everyone?
Yeah, definitely. So I think when people go on like a diet, and I really hate that word because I just don't. There's very few circumstances where people need to be sort of on a diet, and that springs images in my head of being hungry and something horrible, something that you've got to wake up every day and really try to do and try really hard, and it just doesn't have to be like that. It's basically healthy eating and everything in moderation, everything in balance. So generally speaking, what I do with my clients is tell them that, you need to have a life as well. Programs have to work around your life. So if you're 90+% committed and what's the right word? You sustain good quality intakes, throughout the whole week and throughout the whole month, then you can afford to sort of buffer things when let's say it's your birthday and you want to go out for a meal and you want to go off the plan a little bit. It's not a big deal as long as you've been consistent. The consistency is the absolute key, really. So as long as you're sort of 90+% consistent, then those little 10% treats and snacks, that's actually going to be part of your program now, because that's going to keep you happy, and mentally that's going to help you sort of maintain it over a long period of time. Anybody can sort of go on a diet for 2 weeks or something, or 3 weeks, or even 4 weeks, but what happens after that? So you need to find a balance that's going to help you enjoy it and maintain it over a long period of time and make really big changes.
Yeah, that's a very important point. I personally work with a lot of guys as well who are very unhappy with the program that they're following. They think they have to be, just from the exercise point of view, stuck in this rigid thing where you have to be doing set number of reps and set number of sets and a set exercise, and it has to be the same thing. And it gets really boring and competitive. And I imagine it's exactly the same thing with nutrition. Yeah,
without any shadow of a doubt. There's actually a guy I was speaking to today. I was on the phone to him a couple of hours ago, and he sort of said, "Can you do a plan for me where I can just have X, Y, and Z meals and that's it, and send that across?" And I just, that's what people think is going to be the game changer, but it's not, because let's say if I did do that program for that person, after 4 weeks, what happens then? You're just going to stick for the same intakes for the rest of your life now. So what we need to do is start working out what you're going to do long term. You need to keep it upbeat and energetic, and you need to love your food, and have lots of different colours and lots of different, if you want a curry, that's fantastic, let's include that. If Indian food or something like that's one of your favourite things, let's include that. Let's not work against it, but let's make healthier versions of those recipes, and then you can sort of swap them out and change them, and then 1 week have like a healthy version of a pizza that you make or something, and then as soon as you've got a bit of variety, that also helps you sustain it over a long period. So it's definitely not like being rigid only works with a select number of people. I've actually got one client at the moment, and it works really well for him, being rigid and structured like that, and sort of constrained and having an exact plan to follow. But the vast majority of people, that just doesn't work for, unfortunately. They need educating and having lots of different options all the time with the nutrition. So yeah good points all around. When it comes to using different energy sources around exercise, how do you typically go about that? I understand obviously it's a different answer for everyone, and you can tell me it's a shit question if you want to, but yeah, right. If looking at different energy systems around exercise. Yeah, so I think it depends what you're wanting to do. So let's say if you were like a marathon runner, or you wanted to complete your first marathon, that's going to be very different to somebody who's in the gym that's wanting to bulk up and do like a Mr. Universe competition or something like that. Their macronutrient requirements are going to be completely different. So it's obviously I'd have to work individually with people to sort of gauge what their targets are first and work from there. But generally speaking, with guys, a lot of guys, I know they want to get ripped, they want to get lean and that sort of thing, and that's absolutely fine. So, like, one of the biggest things that we need to do is make sure that you're maintaining adequate protein intake. So, depending on your goals and your training, obviously the amount of protein you need fluctuates, and the amount of protein that you can use and utilize will fluctuate. And also we need to spread that throughout the day so that the timing's right as well. And the rest of it, for me, this is what I found works best for my clients, is to work out the protein first, and then between carbohydrates and fats, you need to come up with your own sort of composition, really, because some people respond really well with sort of a higher fat intakes and utilizing energy from fats, and they feel better for that. And other people need more sort of carby sort of foods and getting their energy, the remainder of their energy from that source. So there's no sort of one, fast rule, but one thing I'd say as a sort of generic thing that would work for everybody really is make sure your protein's right first. Definitely, that's one of the key things if you're wanting to get lean and bulk up and things like that, for example. And the second thing is you need to work out, what side of the seesaw you're going to sit on with regards to the carbohydrates and the fats. So it really needs to be personalised for you and your preferences and how you respond to those foods. Really,
are there any kind of typical signs for who would respond better to a higher fat or a higher carbohydrate diet, or is it just literally try it and see what works?
Yeah, I think it's hard because you'd assume with some people that there would be, I respond better to fat or carbohydrates or what have you. But I personally speaking, I don't think there's too much of a, there's no sort of telltale signs or like unique traits of certain people that respond better to one than the other. And even with the people that I've worked with that were sort of like marathon runners, you'd have thought, okay, so they're definitely going to have loads of carbohydrates, definitely. Now, that would work, in my opinion, with sort of 80% of people at least. But there are people out there that respond better on a higher fat diet. They still have carbohydrates, obviously. But, everybody is unique. Everybody is completely and utterly unique, and we need to build strategies around that, really.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there, and I think the question is it optimal? Like, some people might get by on a higher carbohydrate when they might do better, or they might be more optimal on a higher fat diet or something like that. And personally, I've worked with a few marathon runners like you who have responded pretty well to high fat, and it's really interesting to see it goes, like, I don't know, 10 years ago it goes completely against the grain, doesn't it? But now it's a bit more prevalent.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of people that are still stuck in the 90s and the 60s and 70s with regards to their nutrition intakes, the eggs and steak and stuff like that. And, it's just not the case anymore. Science has come on absolutely leaps and bounds, and we know that people can get great results by eating just normal food and not overdoing it and just having a balance. Don't get me wrong, there are some athletes, it depends on what sort of level that you're competing at, that definitely need to do specific things and follow an exact regime in order to get their results. But generally speaking, we don't really need to do that. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Very open-ended question, but it kind of comes off what you just said. What do you think of the paleo movement?
In all honesty, I've not had too much experience working within that area. I'm yet to have any clients specifically within that area, so it's not something that I'd probably talk about too much in too much depth. In all honesty, but having said that, I'd obviously be open to working with people in that area, but it's just not something that I'm tip top on at the moment. To be brutally honest.
Yeah, fair enough. I was just kind of, the thing I was getting at is it's built off whole foods, and I think if you take that aspect of it, it's really healthy. But if you're saying stuff like, I can't have carbohydrates because loads of people say that like, sweet potatoes wouldn't have been available to my genetics or whatever.
Yeah, without any shadow of a doubt, there's literally no diet at all for a healthy person that should be cutting out whole food groups. It's as simple as that. There's absolutely no need for that whatsoever. And I think you've got to think like your body has been sort of developing over, hundreds and thousands of years. Plants and animals have been developing over hundreds of thousands of years. It's only over the last sort of, let's say few decades that people have started thinking nutrition's actually quite a cool area. And that's why the supplement market has had a boom over the last decade, absolute huge boom in sales in supplements and things. And it's all to do with marketing, these products and these ways of eating, these diets, like they have to appeal to people. And that, unfortunately, that's not what we need as a from a physiological perspective or a biological perspective. Your body doesn't really care if you're going to eat a potato or a sweet potato, but we just know that it's more nutritious to have the sweet potato option. It's as simple as that. It doesn't matter if that sweet potato is boxed up in a cardboard box with a grenade on it saying this is the latest breakthrough supplement or something. It doesn't matter, that we know what our body needs. We know the different macronutrient requirements and micronutrient requirements, and there are certain things that do give you a little bit of an edge. But with diets that cut out whole food groups and that are massively restrictive and things like that, it's just simply not necessary.
Yeah, very true. Very true. I couldn't have put it better myself, dude.
Yeah.
Obviously, do you say you did your degree with the IOC, or you did a bit of work in between?
Yeah, it was like a postgraduate diploma. So
okay.
It was like a sort of 80% of a master's or something, if you want to call it that.
Okay. Good way of putting it. What's the biggest difference you see between athletes and your average Joe, nutritionally?
Yeah, so generally speaking, they need a lot more. They need a lot more strategies in place that wouldn't be suitable for someone that's an average Joe. Somebody that's down the gym wanting to get lean or something, or wanting to build up a bit of strength or whatever that might be. Their biggest goal, if you thought of it like a pyramid, you need to start at the bottom and get the foundations in place first. Excuse me, sorry. So, the fact of the matter is everybody, whether you're an athlete or whether you're an average Joe, everybody needs to have that foundation in place, and that's a healthy, balanced diet. It's as simple as that. If you're missing out on macronutrients or micronutrients, there's going to be a problem that's going to hinder your health or your performance, and they're the things that we need to be avoiding, obviously. Now, when we've got that in check and in place, above that, we can start going into sort of nutrition strategies and things like that are going to work. So let's say one of the examples might be protein timing and making sure that we've spread out our protein into every meal. So what I'm saying is the average Joe might not even, let's say if they go out for a few beers at the weekend or something like that, that might be absolutely fine, and they might still get their results with that. That might be the case. But, when they're spending so much time thinking about their protein timing or taking certain supplements and things like that, when the thing that's going to have the biggest effect on them is actually tweaking their current diet. Do you get what I mean? Like making sure that the diet that they're having every day, let's say if you eat 4 times a day, that's 28 times a week. That's going to cause the biggest effect to your results, not like a pill that you take once a week or something, or a supplement. Whereas an athlete, they've already got all that stuff in check. They understand that already. So an athlete, we need to focus on the strategies now, because everything else in their day-to-day routine is already in check, because they understand the importance. And then after that, once we've got the strategies in place, we can start going into different supplements that might give them a competitive edge. But, you can't, everybody's heard the phrase, you can't out-train a bad diet. And that's the key, really. Getting the, a normal person to get that right first is the key. Whereas an athlete would be more sort of tweaking strategies and getting things in place that sort of way.
Yeah. That's the perfect answer, a really perfect answer. A lot of people who listen to this show are CrossFit athletes, or they participate in CrossFit quite a lot, and obviously there's the whole thing about CrossFit is it's constantly varied. So you might have a 10k run one day, and then you might have some Olympic weightlifting. Was there any kind of overarching rule or something that you just bear in mind to try and plan for nutrition for such diverse activities?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the best things to do is track what you're doing. So this again, the first point I made at the start of this recording was basically to make sure that you're planning. So if you knew this Saturday, let's say, for example, Monday to Friday, we're in the gym and we're doing some sort of CrossFit, in the sense that we're going to be doing, sprints, and we're going to do strength and conditioning work. And then at the weekend, we've got some sort of, long distance endurance event coming up. You need to plan your nutrition accordingly, and you need to track that. So let's say, for example, you might expend a lot more energy at the weekend when you're thinking about, if you did sort of a 10K run or something, or whatever that might be, you might burn a lot more energy in total at the weekend than you do during the week, because, it's sustained continuous exercise over a long period of time. That might be causing a lot more, of a difference to your calorie balance you need. So as long as we're tracking these things, we can afford to accommodate these fluctuations. So, if let's say there was a big peak in calorie expenditure at the weekend, this goes back to the personal requirements. So if you were sort of more responsive to healthy fats, then you might want to up the healthy fats over the weekend, and that makes sure that you're getting enough energy so that you can compete, and also enough energy to recover and get all the adaptations that you want in your body to happen, basically. So if you were more suited and preferred carbohydrates, then you might actually have an extra sort of few slices of bread over the weekend, or whatever that might be. Whatever, it needs to be personal to you. But yeah, with the variation and the fluctuations, as long as you're tracking it and you can visually see what's happening and what needs to take place, it makes it a lot more of an easier game to play, really.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing as having a goal and tracking your progress towards it. You're just never going to be able to analyze whether you're effectively hitting it or why you're missing it so much or anything like that. I'm now just going to ask questions for myself because that's what I do. So about recovery, you obviously started to go into it there. What would you be doing straight after, for example, let's just use my example, like an Olympic weightlifting session, looking straight after, like literally as you finish, and then like maybe 4 hours afterwards, 24 hours?
Okay. So there's basically like a window of opportunity where your body is much more responsive, and your body really wants to absorb any nutrients it can get in order to recover. So there's like a window of opportunity, which generally is about sort of up to an hour after your training session. And the sooner you have your intakes, obviously not like, don't just put the weights down and then start, chowing down on some steak and eggs or something like that. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that the sooner that you can have your intakes that are obviously already designed for you, the better that you're going to recover and the more efficient you can recover. Now, we also need to be replacing our glycogen stores, to make sure that you can, let's say if you've got another training session the next day, although your muscles might be sore, they need to recover, and we get that. But from an energy perspective, we need to be replacing our glycogen stores as well, so that we're, basically on point as soon as we get to the next session. Within the next 3 hours, we need to have a proper meal. So in that first half hour, it might look like something like a bit of flapjack and a banana and a protein shake or something like that. Something that's rapidly absorbed by the body, from the carbohydrate and protein perspective in particular. And then after, within 3 hours, there's sort of like a second window, and that's basically when we need to be having like a full balanced meal. So real food, like, I don't know, it might be a baked potato, it might be a poached egg, it might be some beans, it might be something along those lines, and lots of fruit and veg on the plate as well. So there's two sections that you need to think about. So within the first half hour, something that's really rapidly absorbed by the body. And then within the next 3 hours, but ideally, as soon as you can, that's just the maximum amount. As soon as you can within that window, a full meal as well. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%. The window of gains, as I like to call it, or some people
call
it the anabolic window. No, that's really, really good answer. Really good. And I'm just like, excuse me if I'm not responding to you. I'm just taking notes and just using this podcast selfishly to learn as much as I can.
I'm just taking a sip on my water every now and again as well, because I'm doing a lot of talking here, and I've got a bit of a sore throat, so I'll have to apologise if I'm blank for 10 seconds.
Bless you, bless you. Also, apologise for the fact that your sound quality is going to be much better than mine due to your just awesome mic. Okay, so yeah, you've covered a lot of stuff there. Can we quickly go on to why you're so interested in helping in schools and a bit about that?
Definitely, yeah. So I just got to a point when I just got to a point where basically there was something happened to me at the end of my degree, and we were sat in a lecture hall with all of the students, sports science students. There was about probably just under 200 students on the course, and like the head lecturer, if you want to call him that, of the course basically asked everybody afterwards, and this was at the end of the final year, he said, has anybody been to see the careers advisor yet? Put your hand up. And I'd actually been booked in to go and see them a couple of weeks before, so I put my hand up. I didn't realise I was the only person that put my hand up in the whole lecture hall. There was nobody that had been to see the careers advisor in their final year of university. And that just sunk into me, and I just thought, I can't like invest in all this knowledge and time and finances and not do something valuable with it. I can't just go and like sort of drift in any sort of way. I want to really make sure that I'm making a difference in some way. And I don't, it depends what I'm most interested in, and I didn't really know at the time, so that's why I took another course, and I've worked with lots of different athletes, and I'm starting to find now what works, what makes me the happiest as well, because if I'm happy, then I can make everybody else happy as well, because people will thrive off of that. They'll know that I love what I'm doing. And so I started working in the schools, I started working with athletes, started doing different articles for magazines and things like that, and the schools work is just so rewarding. Like, it's just, the kids obviously don't need like an Olympic Committee standard nutrition program. They don't need that. It's just so rewarding to get one of the kids to change one of their habits. So there was one of the children I used to work with in a school just nearby, and she basically, when she got in from school, her mum and dad were late in. They'd finish at 5 or 6, and then they'd have their tea or dinner, whatever you call it, later. So when she got in from school at 4 o'clock and got in, and their parents got in at 6, there was like a 2-hour window where she was out playing with her friends, but she was hungry. So she used to have like a pot noodle and I asked her about this and said, why would you choose something like that? And she said, well, it's just so quick and easy, isn't it? And I just asked her a simple question. I just said, how long does that take to prepare then? She says, about 5 minutes. I was like, okay, so if you had even more time, would that be better for you? And she was like, yeah, definitely. So I said, well, how long does a banana sandwich take to make then instead? And she was like, oh, right, probably a couple of minutes. Like, it only, you have to just slice your banana up and get it on the bread, and that's it. And I was like, just sort of, smiled at her and gave her a bit of a nod, and she was like, oh, right, okay. So, and the penny just dropped in her head, and it's nothing to do with the pot noodle. It's just the speed. Like, she wanted to just go out and like do cartwheels with her mates or whatever she did that evening from school. And then the next day when she came in, the next week, and I spoke to her again, I said, oh, how did you get on? And she says, yeah, I've been doing that every week. It's way better. I was like, this is, all it is just little suggestions for the kids that, that they find sort of, oh, that works really well for me, actually. I can play more now. Or so, like, there's got to be a trade-off. And as soon as you can start hitting those things in their head, they really do respond well. And you can tell that they enjoy, the sessions that we do in the school. So it just makes a huge difference to their life and, the adults of the future or something. It's just a massively rewarding area to be working in, really.
Yeah, firstly, thank you for doing that. That's a brilliant thing to be doing. I think it's something really, really important. I think it's, as you said, it's the adults of the future, and if you can get it into their mind now in a sensible, healthy way, then that's going to massively advance what everyone else is thinking. Yeah,
well, this the thing, we could be in a care home at some point, and those kids that we looked after would be looking after us. So
exactly,
it might have to bite you in the arse if you don't look after them now.
Paying it forward. So whereabouts do you find their current knowledge is with the kids?
It's different in different schools and different areas. Obviously, there's different sort of demographics depending on what area you're working in. In the school that I worked in yesterday, for example, was in the centre of, well, actually just on the outskirts of the centre of Sheffield. and it was in a particularly sort of, a concerning area, or whatever you want to call it, that, they wouldn't have, sort of, generally speaking, a high level of expendable income, and their level of sort of, activities that they do throughout the week wouldn't be the same as, like somebody that's got two parents in the house full time, got a bit of expendable income and that sort of thing. So you're working in lots of different challenging areas, because some kids come from really supportive homes and really supportive backgrounds that are really, really keen on getting the kids to be fit and healthy, and the shopping has to be like, you're only allowed a treat once or twice a week. I grew up in a household where if I wanted to go boxing one week, my dad would just take me boxing. It's as simple as that. If I wanted to play football and join a football team, he'd buy me football boots, and I'd just go and do that for a year or something. And then if I want to do athletics, you can see where I'm going with that. Whereas some children don't have that opportunity, so you have to sort of you have to work with that. You can't assume that every child is on the same wavelength. So it's really interesting to see what the kids' level of knowledge is based on what sort of support they get. So the schools as well, the teachers don't have a lot of specialist knowledge within the area of nutrition. There's the obvious things like we need to eat healthily, we don't need to eat lots and lots of food that'll make us bigger and that sort of thing. Now that they've got the basics there, but on how to get the kids engaged and make it fun and make them actually make a genuine change. Because what I don't want to do is go into the schools, work with the kids and say, we'll work with them and then we just tick a box and leave. If the kids aren't going to respond to it, that's not why I'm dedicating my time to doing this. It needs to change something for them. So their level of knowledge sort of varies really, and generally speaking, they will, no matter what level they're at, they will all engage in the activities that we do and learn something. So some of them might already have sort of, let's say, their 5 a day because their lunch boxes are prepared by their mum and dad and that sort of thing. Some of the kids, their parents pay for hot dinners. So it's actually down to the kid. The child themselves makes the decision what they have for dinner. And obviously they're just going to, if they're a bit hungry, they're just going to pick whatever tastes nicest, which might be pizza and chips that day, for example, even though the other option there is there of some, let's say, salmon and roast vegetables or something like that. But that's not cool to a child. So you've got to get them to the same level where, you can educate them and make them get engaged and think it's actually really cool and really fun to adopt. So yeah, the level, the information that they know at the moment really does vary from school to school, really.
What's the most effective way you've found of maybe changing a child's mindset around food or what's healthy? Because obviously it could be quite a sensitive subject, especially because I suppose in a way it might be taken by the parent. Oh, I'm putting like 10 questions together, but I'll carry on regardless.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because I suppose it could be taken by the parents as you're saying that they're doing a bad job in parenting, and it's quite a sensitive area, or it could be quite a sensitive area.
I think I totally understand where you're coming from, and we don't want to step on any of the parents' toes. We really, really don't want to do that. And I think if you just go into the school and sort of bulldoze everything they're doing and saying, right, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Now you are going to do this and dictate what they need to do. That's not going to work. That's really going to get people's backs up. So what we need to do is focus on the education. So we know scientifically that certain foods are more beneficial for us than others. So it's just about educating people on those topics and letting them make the choices. So I can't pick what the child's parents put in their shopping basket every week. But what we can do is include the parents in getting more educated on the effects of unhealthy foods have on their body, and long term how that's just not a good thing to do. And let's say 50% of the parents responded to that in some way. It might be a small change. They might just think, oh God, I need a complete overhaul. That's up to them. But if there are certain occasions where the kids will be making the decisions themselves as well, it won't just be down to the parents. So, like I said, if they have hot dinners or whatever they call it, they're picking these things themselves. Then they need to be educated to a level where they can make informed choices. So, with regards to the kids themselves, that you've got to think like a kid to pitch something to a kid, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've got to think like, what's the most interesting way of a child learning about fruit and veg? I could go in and just say, a pepper is healthy, a banana is healthy, and they're not going to respond to that. So we need to get them, kids love being creative and drawing pictures and stuff like that. So what we do is we have like an activity called the fruit and veg rainbow, and we get like a rainbow in the middle of the page, and we get them to have a chat with their partner, work in pairs, and draw all the different types of fruit and vegetables that correspond with the different colours of the rainbow. It's as simple as that, but it's just way cooler now. They get to draw pictures of their sort of fruit and veg that they've got in their head now, and it's tackling two areas. So it's bright and it's colourful, it's interesting, it's engaging. And the other side is, from a nutrition perspective, it is actually incredibly beneficial if you have fruit and veg from different types of colours, because different colours represent different micronutrients. So it genuinely does work scientifically, as well as like to keep the kids engaged and having fun. So obviously we need to be working with the parents as well. So we do like after school workshops where the kids and the parents are in the same workshop and they're all working together, and they get an opportunity to do something that they wouldn't normally do at home, for example. So they do like different smoothies and dips, and like how to create like a healthy tortilla based pizza instead of like a takeaway pizza. And you can get the kids to say, okay, chop these bits and pieces of fruit of vegetables up, for example, and draw a picture of your mum or dad's face on the pizza. Just do something different that's going to make them go, oh, that sounds cool, actually. Yeah, we'll do that. And then they'll look forward to doing that stupid thing every week. It's just stupid to them, but underneath it all, they don't realise how much benefit they're getting from it, if that makes sense. And that sells it to both of them, really. Yeah,
it's just making it fun. I think that actually comes back to how to create habits for adults as well. It's making it fun. It's making it less boring. It's we're all children at heart, aren't we?
Yeah, 100%. I'm not joking. That is literally one of I've got a program at the moment, like the Superwoman program, and the ladies on there, I got them to do that exact activity by getting them to post photos of lots of different types of coloured fruit and veg. So some of them were doing things like having a banana and apple every day, and that's it, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but we can maximise that massively. So I got them to, if they do have peppers, like one day have a red pepper, one day have a green pepper, one day have an orange one. If you have potatoes, swap that out for sweet potatoes. There you've got some more orange in there. Having blueberries in there in your shakes, getting a bit of spinach in there to turn it green, and it makes a big difference to adults and children without any shadow of a doubt. And I'm a big kid at heart as well, so I like a big green smoothie anyway.
Good stuff. Well, I know you're getting kind of short on time, so do you mind if we move into the last bit of questions?
Of course, mate. Yeah, okay, without a doubt.
Sweet. So if you had one message that you could tell the world, what would you tell them?
I think obviously I'm going to take from a nutrition perspective, but what I'd like to say is that if you're going on any sort of journey where you're wanting to manipulate your body composition, or change your performance, or do something else that you're not doing now. So let's say if you weren't at the right level of fitness and you wanted to complete your first 5-mile run or something like that, what you need to do is just make sure that you're not restricting yourself massively and having a boring diet. It's just simply not necessary. There's literally not one client that I've had that I've worked with and said, right, you need to eat really boring foods. It just doesn't work. Psychologically, you're going to melt down. You're going to be really annoyed all the time, and you're not going to enjoy your food. So think about all the different colours of the different fruit and veg that you can have really good quality sources of protein or in most meals, things like that everybody can take advantage of, and just don't keep it bland. A lot of bodybuilders and things like to think that they need to have sort of just lean chicken and just rice and just some broccoli. They think that, and in their head that's called eating clean. Now, eating clean is a really sort of really weird thing to define, really, because the principle's right, but in reality it's not as fun as it could be. Like adding herbs and spices is only going to be beneficial to you, so that's one step straight away that we could do that might pop some people's heads and think, well, that's not eating clean. It's got to be simple. It's like, no, it has to be interesting and avoid any of the rubbish stuff. So the biggest thing is to keep your diet interesting, and that's going to help you maintain it over a long period of time. You've probably seen some of the stuff that I post on Instagram.
Yep.
You know, the foods that I have, nothing I have is boring. If I'm in a bit of a rush, then that might be a bit different. I might just have to have a scrambled egg sandwich or something like that. That's fine, but that's a very rare occasion. You don't need to be like that. You know, you can have curries. Just find a way of making it taste nice and fit your personal goals and targets. You can have pizza, but you know, let's not have a pizza or a Domino's. Make it yourself. Like you'll never have fresher tastes in your mouth when you make it yourself. It's just complete. It's a different. That's the gold standard. It's another level. So definitely the take-home message for me would be make it as interesting and fun as you possibly can, because you're more likely to sustain it and keep with it and get your results ultimately.
Yeah, exactly, and it's back to that thing of having fun with it. Have you read The 4-Hour Chef? Because that's about making it fun, it's about making it into a challenge, and it's giving you like key skills and make things really versatile.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I've not read it myself. I've probably got a reading list as long as this table here, to be honest with you. So I'm going to have to definitely add it to the list.
Yeah, it's definitely well worth it. What does it mean to you to be alpha?
Alpha. So I think you need to be like in control. You know, that's the thing for me. So, you know, you're not blaming anybody else for the problems that you're going through. So again, like nutritionally, you could think, oh, I'm eating really healthily and this, that, and the other, but it just doesn't seem to be working. And then you sort of look outwards for things to be blaming, when that's just not the case. You know, to be alpha is to be sort of proud of yourself and know what you're doing and say, this is my life. I'm you know, the creator of my own life and my own nutrition, my own training, how I look, how I appear. You know, how confident I am. That's it. That's entirely up to you. That's your choice. That's not somebody else's choice. So I think that for me to be alpha is to be, you know, no excuses. You need to be fit and healthy, and that's your choice. You can do that, and there's nothing stopping you. You know, I signed up to my first marathon that I completed last year. When I signed up about a year and a half ago, my dad absolutely burst out laughing at me. And he was like, what have you done? You know, what a waste of money that is. Like but the thing is, I know because I'm in charge of my nutrition. I'm in charge of my training, that I will achieve that, because that's something I've always wanted to do. So it's just being in control and not sort of looking for areas to blame, but just think if it's a problem, like that's something you can change. You've got the power to change that thing and make that thing happen, whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. I preach to everyone about taking ownership of the situation. The moment you take ownership of it, you've got control of it, rather than just, I am the victim from now on. What are the most important things you do every day for your health?
Every morning I get my routine sorted. So it doesn't matter what it is. It might be comprised and look different every day, but I need something healthy for my breakfast. I don't want to be going out to a meeting or going out, you know, to do whatever it is that I need to do that day, and thinking I'd feel horrible in myself if I put something horrible inside of my body. You know, if I ate something that was, you know, not very good for breakfast. So what I want to do straight away is make sure that I've got like a smoothie that's really nutrient dense, so that if I do flag on energy levels at any point of the day, I can cope with that. You know, I can cope much better with that. If I am a little bit tired, or let's say if I've got a little bit of a cold or something, it's just going to give me that edge. It doesn't matter what happens. I've got like a little secret weapon that every single morning it's going to give me that extra 5 or 10% to be able to deal with these things. Because these things happen, you know, there's no getting away from being ill or, you know, something like that going on, and you just might need something else to supplement that. So I think, again, it goes back to the planning. You know, this is how much you can probably tell now how much of an effect it has on so many areas of your life when you get things planned. But making sure the first thing we do is get something really, really nutritious, like a green smoothie that's absolutely full of spinach and lots of different berries, and, you know, we're getting so many vitamins from hour one of the day. The rest of the day is going to be a breeze because you've only got a couple more of your 5 a day to be consuming. You think, well, I can fit that in, that's easy. Whereas if you have a rubbish breakfast and let's say you just have a slice of toast, rush out the door, that's it, done. You think, I've still got to have 5 portions of my 5 a day. How's that going to fit into the rest of my day? Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, definitely.
If you get the stuff done first, that's going to make the biggest difference. Get it done right at the start of the day.
Yeah. What are the things that you know you should be doing every day that you aren't necessarily?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I think this comes down to the psychology, to be honest with me, because I'm one of these people that I have a very sort of working class, family. My family has always just worked hard. If you want to achieve more things, you just have to work harder. And what I believed at one point was basically, if I want to, let's say, for example, if I wanted to earn a bit more, like have more expendable income, for example, I would therefore just think, right, work harder. And I sort of beat myself up really sometimes when I feel as though I could have done 50 hours this week instead of 40 or something like that. But it's just not the case. We need to get smart, work smarter. So I think the biggest thing for me is sort of maintaining the positivity all the time. So if something doesn't go right for you that week, then straight away you start berating yourself, you start beating yourself up. And this is just something that I've had as an upbringing sort of thing. Do you get where I'm coming from? That sort of negativity sort of rubbed off on me.
Yeah.
Whereas going forward, I think I need to stay positive and stop beating myself up about things as much. And that's something that I'm always sort of working on.
Yeah, I'm going to throw another book recommendation at you. It's actually only recommended to me the other week, so it's definitely lodged in my mind, and that's Essentialism. Really interesting idea of just finding out what's essential to you, and it's finding out what to work on in particular rather than just working harder like you mentioned, and focusing on those few things. It's definitely good. What do your clients or your audience or your friends consider you world class at?
The thing is, when I was sat in that lecture hall and I just thought, I don't want to just coast and do something boring or do an average thing. I want to have a big impact on somebody's life. And I didn't know what that was at the time. And everybody knows, like everybody that knows me, whether it's friends or family, it probably annoys them at some point, that how geeky I am about nutrition and but I don't care. Like they can see I love it. I absolutely love it. So the level of service that I can give to my clients is world class, and I've been told that literally probably last week by 2 of my clients. So I always speak to them and treat them as human beings. They're not like a number or something like that. These are real people with real problems, so they need a real person to be able to help them with those real problems. I always ask them, how are you finding the program? Is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can tweak? And obviously, providing they're not saying, a free Lamborghini at the start of the program would be nice or something like that, something unrealistic, then I'll work on maintaining that and saying, right, let's get that incorporated then. So it's constantly evolving and constantly getting better, and everybody gets better results, everybody's happier. And I would say I'm world class, or other people would definitely say that I was world class at offering a service to my clients and getting them the results that they need. They can tell how passionate I am about what I do, and that rubs off on them without a doubt. Yeah,
and it comes across through here as well. You can feel like, I don't know whether I've met you before and spoken to you, but you can really feel it coming across. So hope that comes across through the podcast as well.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Last question, or second but last, what's the most important book you've ever read?
Let me think now. So there's a few actually. Am I right to say a few?
Yeah, you can do that.
So I've always been one of these people that, I've always been interested in business and always been interested in, getting fitter and healthier and sports and that sort of thing. And that's why I've set up my own business in nutrition, because that's 2 things I love. But the 2 areas of nutrition and business, obviously everybody's got their own sort of role models. So I love like a rags to riches story, somebody that started off with nothing, because I had nothing. You know, that would therefore be applicable to me and make me believe that I could achieve those things. So someone like Alan Sugar, I've read his biography.
Yep.
Richard Branson, his biography as well. Henry Ford, it's a bit of a strange one, but
no, interesting story as well.
He's so it's just phenomenal, like the amount of information you get from reading these biographies from real people that have started with absolutely nothing to get, you know, being sort of multimillionaires. So, and helping lots of people in some way. You know, they've provided a level of service that is second to none in whatever area they're working in. And that's the difference. So people want to give them money to go, I need you to solve this problem for me. You know, that's the running theme essentially. And then on the mindset side of things, I would say the chimp paradox, that's been a big thing for me, you know, for reading wise, definitely.
Yeah, it's a game changer.
Massive. That just popped out as soon. And you start, you know, when I was on about earlier on, when I start beating myself up when things don't go my way, and let's say I've got a target and I don't meet that target, you learn how your brain works and how your brain responds, and it's like therefore because you know that this is a normal thing, that you're gonna get wound up. That's just a natural thing. But when you learn how to control that, that's just like huge, like massive. It doesn't matter whether it's nutrition or train for a marathon, or you know, you have an argument with your missus or something, you know, whatever that is, like it applies to every single thing, you know, definitely. So that's another massive one.
Yeah, it's just having that distance, isn't it, to observe what you're thinking. It's just like, that's what it said in the book that I'll be doing, and then you get those methods.
Yeah, without any shadow of a doubt.
Okay, well, thank you so much for today, mate. Where can people find out more about you, or is there anything you'd like to plug, or anything you'd like to say to anyone, or shout outs? You can do shout outs.
Yeah, so you know, the thing is, obviously, if anybody needs any help, I'm more than happy to help. If anybody wants to chat with something, or you know, if it was sort of, you know, working out how to set up your own business in the area of health and fitness or nutrition, or if you were wanting to get fitter or healthier, I'm all ears. You know, I'll help anyone. It's as simple as that. That's why I do what I do. So the best way of reaching me is through the SJN Nutrition Facebook page. And also the best way of following what I do sort of visually day to day is taking a look at my Instagram account. If you've not got Instagram, just sort of follow the SJN Nutrition Instagram account, and it gives you loads of different, you know, ideas on smoothies and, you know, foods and the dinners that I eat every day. So I think it's nice for people to see what nutrition goes on for a nutritionist, if that makes sense. So definitely the Facebook page is a first point of call, and the Instagram account. They're the two key things for me that I'm sort of most active on, really. So, you know, feel free to shout, give me a message or anything like that. More than happy to have a chat with anybody.
Great. What I'll do is I'll stick a link in the description of this podcast as well, so people will be able to find you through that.
Without a doubt, that'd be great. My pleasure.
Great, dude. Well, thank you so much. It's been a really, really good one. Been almost
I've enjoyed every minute. It's been really cool. So, you know, I wish you all the best, and obviously if you need anything ever again, then don't hesitate to get in touch.
Likewise, dude.
By the way, on Thursday 3rd of March at 8 PM Greenwich Mean Time, I'm hosting a webinar called How to Hack Your Health in Limited Time, getting disgustingly fit, strong, healthy and confident with the minimum effort. I'll send out a link to register in the show notes, but you'll be able to find out more information through social media and the website. If you want to revolutionise your body, mindset and health, head over to facebook.com/alphamovementofficial or alphamovement.co, where you will get exclusive content and be kept in the loop about upcoming guests. I'm always looking for people who have inspiring stories about fitness, mindset and what it takes to be alpha. If that sounds like you or someone you know, you can send your story to tom@alphamovement.co. This is a movement redefining what it means to be alpha through revolution of mindset and mastery of the physical body.